Alexandra is a third-year human kinetics student at the University of Guelph. She did work as an undergraduate research assistant with CROSH and remains a CROSH member from last summer. And she's going to be showing some of her work from last summer with you guys.
So hi everyone. I'm so pleased that I could join you today. As Dr. Dorman said in her lovely introduction, my name is Alexandra Bertrim, and I'm currently a third-year human kinetics student at the University of Guelph. And over this past summer, I had the privilege of working as an undergraduate student researcher for the Center of Occupational Safety and Health, also known as CROSH. Um, and during my time there, I had the opportunity to work on several interesting projects related to occupational health and safety, including the one that I'm going to be sharing with you all today. So another undergraduate student and I collaborated on creating Toolbox Talks in partnership with the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. Um, and with the overall goal of promoting safer working environments and enhancing occupational health and safety in the mineral exploration industry. So to give a little bit of context in the mineral exploration industry and what it is, it's the process of searching for and identifying locations with mineral deposits that have the potential to be developed into active mining sites. And mineral exploration includes a wide range of activities, each involving a diverse set of personnel, and some key activities include field mapping, which involves studying and mapping the area, geophysical surveying, which involves measuring the physical properties of the area of interest to help locate mineral resources, as well as sampling, and this could be sampling of the soil, rocks, water, vegetation in the area to assess for the presence of minerals, as well as drilling operations, which involves drilling into the ground to receive cores, and these cores provide detailed information about the subsurface composition as well as its mineral content. So just before we move on into this presentation, let's take a quick moment to reflect on your own knowledge of mineral exploration with a quick true or false question. The question being, mineral exploration is essential for sustaining Canada's mining sector. I'll give you a few moments to complete this question. Awesome. I see all the results are in, and as most of you knew, this is absolutely true, and Canada is a global leader in the mining industry, and to keep this industry thriving and to keep this this long-term viability of this industry, discovering new mineral deposits is essential as they are a finite resource. And the graph here that I have displayed on the screen just highlights active provincial exploration initiatives and just really underscores the geological richness of our country. And as you can see, provinces like Ontario, British Columbia, and Quebec are all investing heavily in their exploration efforts. Now, unfortunately, the field of mineral exploration does not come without its health and safety challenges, and while there has been substantial research and efforts devoted to improving health and safety standards in the broader mining industry, comparatively less attention and investment has been directed towards the sector of mineral exploration. And the unique characteristics of exploration activities, which include the transient nature of the work, the remote locations, the extreme environmental conditions that these workers are subject to, as well as the reliance on a diverse set of personnel and the use of specialized equipment create complex safety risks. And because these challenges are quite distinct and unique to exploration activities, they're not easily addressed by the strategies developed for typical and traditional mining operations. So instead, we need to make targeted and field-specific approaches to address these challenges. So, recognizing these gaps, Rebecca Bond, a former human kinetics master's student at Laurentian University, conducted a thesis that provides critical insights into the health and safety challenges in the mineral exploration industry. And her research applied a mixed methods approach to analyze extensive incident survey reports from across the entire country. And the data used for her thesis was sourced from the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. And just to give, also known as PDAC, and just to give a little bit of context, PDAC is a leading organization in the field of mineral exploration and development, and it's dedicated to advancing growth in the sector. And it does this through its advocacy efforts, through its commitment to promoting equity, diversity, and inclusion, and as well as encouraging best practices in technical, environmental, and safety aspects. And as part of its mission, PDAC places a very strong emphasis on safety. And one of the ways it does this is by conducting research and maintaining extensive databases. And these databases can serve as a critical tool, as seen in Rebecca's thesis, for improving health and safety standards across the industry. The dataset provided by PDAC for Rebecca's thesis included over 100,000 data entries from over 6,000 workplace incidents across Canada's entire exploration industry between the years of 2005 and 2019. So this substantial dataset captures a wide range of details from each incident, including the occupation of the workers involved in the incident, their employment status, the time of day that the incident occurred, the activity involved when the incident occurred, the nature of the injuries sustained by any of the workers involved, as well as the incident type. And this extensive collection of information makes Rebecca's thesis one of the most comprehensive studies in this field, and her work just really highlights the unique nature of the field and identifies the relationship between factors contributing to these incidents. And it also provides evidence into explaining why and how injuries continue to occur at such a high rate in this field. And it's just a significant step towards understanding and mitigating these risks, and can contribute to improving safety standards and practices in the mineral exploration field. Here, I'm just highlighting some of the main findings from her thesis. One of them being that acute injuries were more prevalent, and this really distinguishes mineral explorations from other fields where chronic injuries are typically more common. Of these common acute injuries were sprains, strains, contusions, fractures, and cuts. And while chronic injuries may not have been as common, musculoskeletal overuse injuries were also noted as an area of concern. Rebecca also highlighted common mechanisms of injury in her thesis, and these included slips, trips, and falls. And these injuries often happened when conditions were wet or icy, or while workers were traversing rugged terrain. Other common mechanisms of injuries included improper tool use, as well as working with or around heavy machinery, particularly when workers were involved in getting on and off the equipment, when they were dealing with reduced visibility, or while they were managing challenges like fatigued and distracted driving. Manual handling was also a common risk factor for injury, particularly when workers were involved in activities that they were lifting and carrying objects. And lack of PPE compliance was also identified as a risk factor, and this being workers were either not wearing the correct PPE or not wearing any PPE at all. And these recurrent issues highlight the need for targeted interventions like better safety education and awareness, and that's exactly where our current project of developing Toolbox Talks for the mineral exploration industry comes into play. Now, Toolbox Talks are short, and they typically range anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and they're focused safety meetings, usually led by a supervisor or a team leader before a shift or before the team participates in a specific task. And they're designed to provide workers with practical and job-specific safety information, as well as reminders, while reinforcing proper safety protocols and addressing potential hazards that workers may find on the job site. Now that we've gone through a little bit of what a toolbox talk is, let's go through a brief learning check together with a poll question. What is the primary goal of a toolbox talk? 1, is it to identify new mineral deposits? 2, is it to reduce the cost involved in exploration? 3, to reduce environmental impacts? Or 4, improve worker safety awareness? And I'll give a couple moments to complete this. Awesome. So that's absolutely true. 4 was the correct answer, to improve worker safety awareness. And now that we've got the gist of what Toolbox Talks are, I'm going to go through the benefits of Toolbox Talks and discuss their significance in the mineral exploration setting. So firstly, Toolbox Talks are a very accessible and practical tool to improving occupational health and safety, particularly in industries like mineral exploration, where companies may lack staff that are dedicated to health and safety. And giving these talks requires no professional training, and they can be easily integrated into daily operations, even in resource-constrained environments, like the ones you may encounter in mineral exploration. Secondly, research shows that pre-task discussions significantly increase workers' awareness of potential risks and provide them with practical safety controls, which allows them to be proactive about their own safety. And beyond just raising awareness, Toolbox Talks encourage behavioral change by providing workers with the chance to review procedures and to practice essential skills like proper tool handling and equipment use. They also promote open communication and trust, as they give workers a platform to voice their concerns and actively participate in creating a safer working environment. And finally, they strengthen overall safety cultures throughout the entire organization. Because when supervisors lead safety talks and model these safe behaviors, they set a positive example that influences workers' attitudes and their adherence to safety protocols. All right, now that we've gotten the rundown of what a toolbox talk is and their benefits, let's bring our focus back to our current project, which builds directly on the important work done in Rebecca Bond's thesis. And what's so exciting about this project is that it's an example of how research can be transformed into real-world solutions. And our goal is to really bridge the gap between research and practical applications, and importantly, making these critical research findings accessible and impactful for those who are affected by it the most. And specifically, our project translates this research and uses her findings to create data-driven toolbox talks that are tailored for the unique hazards and injury mechanisms identified in the thesis. And by focusing on these specific risks, we're ensuring that these talks are not only highly relatable, but also very actionable for these exploration workers. Now I'm just going to go through the process, our process of creating these toolbox talks. And because the thesis forms the foundation of our talks, we carefully analyze the thesis to pick out recurring safety challenges. And to really bring these findings to life, we selected specific cases from the PDAC database as well to provide concrete examples for each identified challenge. And then from this analysis, we chose actionable toolbox talks that directly address the most significant hazards and safety issues that workers may face. And then to ensure clarity and organization, we categorize these topics into thematic chapters, creating a clear framework for our toolbox talks. And finally, each toolbox talk was designed with exploration workers in mind, and we really tried to use relatable, real-world scenarios and solutions to make the content engaging, relevant, and impactful. Now, here's the table of contents for our toolbox talks, and each chapter targets a critical safety challenge. The first chapter is health hazards, and this chapter includes talks on recognizing and preventing heat stroke and managing fatigue, for example. The second chapter tackles physical and environmental hazards, and this section has talks on risks such as falls through the ice and how to navigate rugged terrain safely. The third chapter is dedicated to personal protective equipment, PPE, and this chapter offers talks on how to select and properly use specific types of PPE, including eyewear and footwear. The fourth chapter relates to ergonomic risk and techniques and provides talks on activities such as how to lift and carry safely, as well as how to use non-powered tools ergonomically. The fifth chapter focuses on vehicles and equipment, and we have talks that cover activities such as working in and around helicopters safely and how to practice safe driving behaviors. The sixth section is dedicated to drilling operations, and this chapter includes talks on safe drilling practices, as well as conducting hazard assessments and handling drill heads properly. And finally, we have a chapter on safety management, and some examples of talks within this section include the importance of team situational awareness, as well as effective incident reporting. And additionally, the first part of our book will serve as a guide for supervisors, and it will offer supervisors or team leaders strategies on how to navigate our toolbox talks and how to deliver them effectively to maximize engagement and impact. So here's an example of one of our toolbox talks that we've created. This talk focuses on proper ingress and egress of equipment. And this topic is found within the vehicles and equipment chapter of our book. And all of our toolbox talks begin with a general overview of the dangers associated with ingress and egress, or the specific activity. In this particular case, it explains that workers may face injuries such as slips, trips, and falls during mounting and dismounting of equipment, and that these risks are only made worse by poor environmental conditions, with certain types of equipment, or with unsafe behavioral choices. And all of our talks apply a hierarchy of controls framework, which includes elimination, substitution, administrative controls, and PPE to provide solutions to mitigate the risks of the particular activity, in this case, ingress and egress. And to make these sessions hands-on, in this case, we've given workers the opportunity to practice 3 point of contact techniques in order to practice safely mounting and dismounting equipment. And all of our talks also feature a Q&A portion, and this section is really designed to encourage open conversations and to allow workers to share their thoughts, ask any questions they may have, or raise any concerns to their supervisors. And below this section, supervisors have an area where they can document worker comments or any issues that may have arisen to ensure that this feedback is recorded and addressed appropriately. And then the supervisors also have access to additional resources if they were to require any further information to support their discussion. And here's just another example of one of the toolbox talks. This one's on pre-operational checks, also within the vehicle and equipment section. I'm not going to go through the same thing as it follows the same design, but here's just another example. And then moving forward, we're really excited to continue building on this project. This project is still a work in progress, so we hope to complete the remaining of our toolbox talks. And once this book is finalized, our aim is to make these toolbox talks accessible to the entire mineral exploration field as a pilot project. And then from this, we hope to gather feedback from workers and supervisors in order to refine our toolbox talks and enhance their effectiveness. So as we're nearing the end of this presentation, I just wanted to wrap up by re-emphasizing some key takeaways from this project. First, I think it's crucial to remain conscious of the unique health and safety challenges within the field of mineral exploration, as raising awareness is the first step towards addressing these issues effectively. And next, I think it's very important to highlight the value of translating research into real-world applications. So by turning research findings into actionable tools like Toolbox Talks, we're making this valuable information accessible and practical for those who really need it the most. And this approach ensures that the content directly addresses the real-world challenges faced by workers in the mineral exploration field, and ultimately it's going to help enhance occupational health and safety in the mineral exploration industry. And that's all I have for today. I wanted to say a big thank you, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
Terrific job, Alex. I just got to say, like Alex and Kaylee are third year undergraduate students, and aren't they impressive? Like there's some great students out there. So I'm glad you're able to share what you guys are working on. You got lots of questions here, so I'll dive in. The first one is around language. Do you plan on translating these toolbox into other languages? And if so, any idea which languages?
So since the thesis was like created off a database from the entire Canadian industry, most of the challenges are specifically related to challenges that someone may encounter in Canada, like specifically the icy conditions, snow, reduced visibility from the snow. So maybe in French, that would be helpful. But as of right now,
Yeah.
we're focused on completing our book. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion though. I think we should pursue that.
Yeah,
Okay, the
definitely.
next question is from Dylan Larrabee. What kind of data collection is discussed in a toolbox talk? I've never gone over any data during a toolbox talk before. So did I read that well enough for you? It kind of moved on me.
Okay, yeah,
So,
absolutely. So I don't think we're putting any data in the toolbox talk. We did pull specific examples from the PDAC database. For example, like a worker navigating terrain may have fell, and this resulted in a sprained ankle. So that may have been like the data that we're pulling from the PDAC database, and we're using these as real life examples to open up the conversation to workers. And
right.
but we're not really the toolbox talks are
Yeah,
based on the database, but not really using any specific data within the toolbox talk when you're delivering
that
it.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay. And then Joanna Sari says, love this concept. Did you have any pushback when introducing these toolboxes?
So right now it's definitely still in the process of being made. We've done a presentation to a few members in the like occupational health and safety world, and so far we've gotten positive feedback. But this project is definitely still in its developmental phases.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'll just
that sounds fair.
there and sorry, just for a second. In future, anybody who has or wants to participate or trial a couple of toolboxes for us, at some point we will be doing that portion of the research. Ali, perfect. Thank you for bringing that up. And so we will be doing that portion. So if you do have any interest, please reach out to the CROSH Tech email. It won't be so it's not like a tomorrow thing, but yes, if we get these all done, then we'll definitely try to have the public and health and safety workers specifically deliver the talks and see how they are.